Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming to part 2 of our IBM Watson Superclass. Today we are going to be focusing on building and deploying models with IBM Watson's AutoAI. So before we get started and jump in, do you have audio? Yes. If we're having any issues with audio, please put a message in the chat so we can make sure to fix it as quickly as possible for you. So before we get started, I'd like us to just all get to know each other a little better. I'm going to introduce myself, and if you would like to introduce yourself in the chat, so we can all get to know each other a little better. Please feel free to do that, no pressure. My name is Jenna. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a cloud developer advocate with IBM. I'm currently joining from Detroit. I'm from Detroit. I've been working in Austin for a few years up until quarantine, and then came back home from Detroit while we're all working from home. Something I love, I have Yorkies. They're getting old, but they're still just as obnoxious as they were when they were little. So I definitely love little dogs, especially Yorkies, and a quirk, something that's uniquely weird or different about you. So something that's weird or different about me, I have weird obsessions with food. So something a little different. I order the same thing every time I go to a restaurant. And that's not to say I have a few things that I like. There's usually only one thing that I order, and I'll go to a restaurant specifically for that one thing. So I typically don't really need a menu, although I also always ask for one so I don't look, you know, too transparent about it. But so that's a little bit about me. Feel free to share something about you in the chat so we can get to know you a little better. We're all now members of our each other's developer and data science community. So I like to give you all a chance to get to know each other a little better. So a few housekeeping items. If you scroll to the very top of the chat, I have all of the links to all of the resources for you. So all of the resources are available in the slide deck. So if you have the link to the slide deck, you'll have everything you need there. But as far as accessing any slides or accessing the Git repository or any links you might need during the workshop, they're available at the top of the chat, and I'll be sharing them as we go along as well. So this is the link to access the slides. I also have the URL to the GitHub repository. You will need to clone the repo if you would like to deploy your project. We're going to be building an AutoAI model. We're going to be building a data model with Watson's AutoAI, and then we're going to be deploying an application both locally and with IBM Cloud. So one of the things that I want to make sure you all know how to do is not only create a custom model with Watson's AutoAI, but that you know how to deploy your applications as well. And you know how to access and make calls to your model that you've just created so that you can use them in your development of applications and different projects you're working on. So this is the repository for that. This is the link that you all joined with today. So what happens is once the live stream has ended, the live stream will convert into a recorded video, and it will live here at the same URL. So you can access the recording later if you need to. If you don't already have an IBM Cloud account, this is the link to sign up. Just a second here. You will need an IBM Cloud account in order to participate in the workshop. If you look at the bottom of your screen, there's a button that says IBM Cloud Sign Up. You can click the button there as well to create your new IBM Cloud account. You can also click the link to access your existing IBM Cloud account and just log in there. Okay. So you'll be creating an IBM Cloud free light tier account. It is completely free. You don't need to enter any credit card information. And everything we're going to be doing today is going to be included in the light plan services, so which are at no cost to you ever. So it's free to use. You won't ever get a cost for it. And AutoAI is one of our Watson Studio products that is available to you at no cost for free. If you are building a lot of models or making a lot of API calls, or you're building an application, let's say for a business that you're starting, and you need to scale up once you reach the threshold that you need more provisioning, you'll get a notification and you'll be able to update that as well and choose a pay plan to use more of the offerings that aren't available for free, and to access more of the Watson Studio services. So if you would like to connect with me on social at any time, please feel free to follow me. So my handle is @jritten, just about everywhere. So if you're looking for me on Dev2 or Twitch or Twitter or GitHub, Instagram, LinkedIn, I do a lot on LinkedIn. Everything's @jritten, so it's pretty easy to find. So if you ever have any questions or need to contact me about anything or want to ask some questions, please feel free to reach out. I'd also like to introduce Steve. We have Steve Marr here with us today. He is our de facto dev support answerer of the questions. I'll let him introduce himself quickly for you.
Thanks, Jenna. Yep, I'll be here in the background answering any questions that folks have. If you'd like to connect with me on Twitter or LinkedIn, it's SteveBot on Twitter and Steve Marr on LinkedIn. I like to think I know most things IBM Cloud, so if you have any questions, just put them in the chat. Happy to answer them. Thanks, Jenna.
Cool. Thanks so much, Steve. Okay, so one thing that I've started to do for our series of events is one thing that, or I'll say another ad that you have access to for free are skills badging. So IBM has a lot of different web dev, data science, and other skills badging and their courses that are available to you for free. So I've started putting together badges that I think would fit good for each series that we're doing. So the badges that I've put together for our Watson machine learning series that we're doing this week, the first one is Data Science Foundations. So it is 3 different courses. So you'll earn a badge for the completion of each course. And once you've completed all 3, you'll earn your Data Science Foundations badge. So you'll be actually earning 4 badges upon completion. And you'll get a really great introduction to all things data science. The foundations that you need to dive in a little bit more and work on a badge like the Applied Data Science with Python. This is also a 3-part course. So once you've completed all 3 courses, you'll get a badge for each course, and then you'll earn the Applied Data Science with Python badge once you've completed all of those. So these give you a really great introduction to data science fundamentals and applied data science using Python. So let's go ahead and get started. So you might be thinking, well, I don't know AI and I don't know machine learning. Don't worry. Watson Studio is a service that's available for anyone to use. You don't have to be a data scientist. You don't have to be a web developer. It's very easy to use. We're going to get our hands dirty in just a little bit here, so you'll be able to get hands-on and see exactly how to create custom models with Watson Studio. But don't worry, if you're the beginner in every sense of the term, this is where you should be. This is the workshop to be at. So you're in the right place. And if you are familiar with data science and machine learning, then this will be a great introduction to the service for you, and you'll be able to really dig in and play with a lot of the features that AutoAI offers to really customize your models. So think of machine learning as a sophisticated if-else statement. So if your model receives a certain type of data, it will give a certain type of response, else it will give another type of response. So as much data and as much processing goes into creating machine learning models, it's really just a sophisticated if-else statement. So in a nutshell, machine learning is really just a way to make data useful. So if you have mountains and mountains of geographic data, for instance, right? The data alone does not tell you anything. It takes a lot of cleaning and processing and looking to data trends to try and make data useful. That can take a lot of time. Data scientists usually spend weeks or months creating data models. So what's nice about AutoAI is that the weeks and months you spend putting processing and putting together to create a custom model, you can do literally in minutes. Let's see what the question. Okay. So this is machine learning is a really great way to make data useful to you to use. So let's say you have a lot of data, geographic data, for instance, and let's say you are a developer and you want to build some sort of application that does something with the geographic data. So you can decide what it is, what inferences you want to pull out of this data, what do you want to explore about the data. AutoAI will create the model for you that you can then use to make your API calls to and get the responses back that you need from the data to do whatever it is you want to do with them in your application. So it's really, really a useful tool and very easy to use. So AI, artificial intelligence, is intelligence without human intervention, right? So essentially similar to IBM's Project Debater that we're going to be talking about and exploring more tomorrow. We want intelligence to be able to make inferences and determine what's going on from data without us having to intervene, without us having to explain. So IBM's Project Debater, for instance, you can ask it questions and it's able to come up with responses and debate, put an argument together and debate an actual point and have a full position on it. So without a human having to feed it information or tell it which side of the argument to take. So Watson is a question answer system. So you're going to be asking questions and receiving responses from Watson. So once we create our custom model, really what it's for is for us to send data to ask questions about what's going on within our data set and within the trends, and then Watson will answer those questions for us. So Watson Studio is really a one-stop shop for all of your AI and machine learning needs for teams. So what's really great, in addition to being able to create custom models and really do a lot with machine learning and have access to a lot of these services for free at no cost to you ever, is you can also collaborate as teams. So you can work on a project using one data model or using 5 data models with as many people as you need to work together on a team. So it's very accessible to as many people as you have working on a project. So what exactly is Watson AutoAI? So Watson Studio's AutoAI, basically what it's doing is it's automating tasks that typically take data scientists days or weeks to complete. So AutoAI is going to generate our custom models for us, and it's going to use hyperparameters and data optimization to customize your custom model with the highest probability rate. So if you haven't already, go ahead and sign up for your free IBM Cloud Light Tier account, or go ahead and log in. And again, the link to do that is right at the bottom of the screen where it says IBM Cloud sign up. You can click there to log in as well. And then this is the repository. You'll need to clone this as well. So I want to give you just a second to get signed into your IBM Cloud account and clone your repository. We won't be using the repository just yet, as far as needing to have it cloned. You can follow along for now. So what we're going to be doing is deploying a model to predict heart failure with Watson machine learning. So just a disclaimer, the application is used for demonstrative purposes and illustrative purposes only, and doesn't constitute an offering that has gone through regulatory review. So this isn't like a medically accurate, peer-reviewed, heart prediction, heart failure prediction model. This is using just example data to show how to use Watson's AutoAI to create a custom model. Our project in whole is broken up into two parts. So the first part is we'll have a predictive model that we'll build using AutoAI on IBM Cloud Pak for Data. So the model is then going to be deployed to Watson Machine Learning Service, where it can be accessed via a REST API. And then on the front end, we have a Node.js web app that allows users to input some data that is going to be scored against the previous model and give us a heart failure rate prediction response with a level of probability. So when we've finished working through this workshop, you'll be able to understand how to build a predictive model with AutoAI on Cloud Pak for Data. You'll know how to deploy the model locally, as well as to IBM Watson you'll understand how to deploy the model to the IBM Watson Machine Learning Service to access via REST API. And then you'll also understand how to score some data against the model via an API call to your Watson Machine Learning Service. And we're going to show you how to deploy your application locally as well as to IBM Cloud, so that you can access your data model and make calls to it both locally and deployed to IBM Cloud. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay. All right. So the first thing we're going to do, there we go. First thing we're going to do is log into our IBM Cloud account. So you should all be logged in at the moment. Okay. We're going to go ahead and go over to our catalog. And you can go ahead and type in Watson Studio. Go ahead and open Watson Studio here. And if you don't have an existing instance of Watson Studio, you'll need to create one. Again, this is a free with your light tier account. So you'll need to just choose the light account option. You can give your name down here, just so it's easier to find. The default resource group is already selected for you, and then you can go ahead and create that instance of Watson Studio. If you already have an instance of Watson Studio, if you type Watson Studio in the search bar at the top, you should be able to find your Surface instance. So this is mine. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up. Okay, and then you're going to go ahead and click down here, Get Started. So in the next tab, it's going to go ahead and open up your IBM Cloud Pack for Data, and this is where we're going to be working for the remainder of the time we have here. Okay, so if you've worked in Watson Studio before, this is kind of the new intermediary space here. It's gotten a little bit of a facelift here. We have our recent projects, recent catalogs. We have your services, deployment spaces that we can access here as well. So I'm going to leave this open, and I'm going to create a new project. I'm just going to open it in a new tab. So we're going to create a project, and we're going to create an empty project. Okay, I'm going to call this predict heart failure. And then the other thing you'll need to do is select your storage service. So if you haven't already, if this is your first time creating Watson Studio instance, you'll need to create a Cloud Object Storage instance. If you have one already, you'll just need to drop down and select your instance of Cloud Object Storage. And then you can go ahead and click Create. Let it finish. Perfect. So here is our Predict Heart Failure project. So right now we don't have any assets, and I'm the only collaborator. But as I mentioned earlier, if you're working with a team on this, you can add collaborators in your settings. So what I want to look at first is we need to add our data source to this project. I'm sorry, we need to first add our AutoAI experiment. So I'm going to go back. So when you click Add to Project at the top here, you're going to choose AutoAI experiment. So first thing we need to do to add to our project is our AutoAI experiment. So I'm going to create a new AutoAI experiment. Just going to say predict heart failure experiment. And then we need to associate a machine learning service instance with our AutoAI experiment. So let me just click here and associate my service. Take a second to load. Okay, so I'm going to look from my service here. If this is your account, probably you'll see it pop up. But as you see here, I have this machine learning service instance here. So I'm going to check. And then it's going to bring me back here. I'm going to click Reload. And my machine learning instance is associated with this AutoAI experiment now. So now what I'm going to do is click Create. And it's going to create my new AutoAI experiment for me. Perfect. So here is our, just for reference, so within our projects, we have a Predict Heart Failure project, and we've added a heart failure AutoAI experiment to our project. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add data source to our AutoAI experiment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Browse, and I'm going to go to my predictive model. So this is coming from the repository. So the repository that I said we need to clone, if you click inside the repository and you click within data, you're going to click this patient data, and then you're going to click open. So this is going to be our data source that we're using for our AutoAI experiment. Okay, so we have our data source here, and you can add multiple data sources. Like, for instance, if you were doing weather prediction or, you know, the trends of viral spread, right? You might have 10 or 20 or, you know, 30 different data sources. You can add as many of those as you need here. You're not, you know, beholden to just one or a few. You can add many data sources. So what do you want to predict? So if we click here, from our data source that we've just uploaded, we can see that we have average heartbeats per minute, palpitations per day, cholesterol. These are all integers. Heart failure is a string. Sex is a string. Age is an integer. Smoke lasts 5 years is a string. So what we're predicting here is we're predicting heart failure. So I'm going to choose this. And as you can see here, the prediction type is a binary classification. And the optimized metric is optimized for accuracy. So what we can do now is we can go ahead and run our experiment. Okay. So our AutoAI experiment has started. So if we click over here, swap our views here. So this is the process that we're going to go through. So we're going to read the data set. So first we load the data set. Then we selected that we wanted to choose the heart failure column. So AutoAI automatically selects the best metric to optimize our model. So since this is a binary classification problem, we saw the binary classification metrics selected there. Binary classification is one of the most important evaluation metrics for checking any classification model's performance. So binary classification is a great metric for checking your model's performance. So behind the scenes, what's happening here is the tool splits the data into training and holdout sets. So it then applies threefold cross-validation to evaluate the viability of this in order to predict new and unseen data. So it's evaluating the viability of estimators so that once you feed it new data, it's in order to give an accurate and high probability response to the new data that it's received. So next, the tool generates pipelines. Let's see here. We're not quite there yet. So far, our Watson AutoAI has read the data set, split the holdout data into training and holdout sets. So before, and if you've done some data modeling in the past, you may have had two sets of data, your training data and then your holdout set data. AutoAI splits the data for you, so you only have to feed it the one set of data, the data that you want to the data that you want to get your accurate prediction data from. You won't need to spend as much time cleaning and splitting your data because it will do that for you on the back end. Then we're going through this pre-processing. So it's going to detect and categorize features based on the data type, such as categorical and numeral. So we had some different strings and some different integers in our data that we uploaded. So model selection. So AutoAI is going to evaluate the algorithms and select the best match for the data. So the first part here is this gradient boosting classifier. So this is going to apply the algorithm that best matches the data and prediction type. We have this pipeline one here. So this is generating our pipeline leaderboard that you see here. These are our different pipelines. So our first pipeline here is generated from our gradient boosting classifier. Our pipeline 2 is generated from our hyperparameter optimization. So this is tuning and refining the best performing model pipelines. Next, what we're doing is our data is undergoing feature engineering. So this is going to generate our third pipeline, and this is going to determine features that will support the most accurate prediction. And then we'll undergo, again, more hyperparameter optimization for our fourth pipeline. And we'll keep undergoing this process. So down here, we have our selected algorithm. So after our second round of hyperparameter optimization, AutoAI is going to apply the algorithm that best matches the data and prediction type to generate our fifth pipeline. And then we'll undergo more hyperparameter optimization and feature engineering to generate the rest of our 8 pipelines. Okay. So the tool is generating these pipelines down here using different hyperparameter tuning and feature engineering for each estimator. And as you can see here, we can take a look at the optimized accuracy for each pipeline. So number 1 is starred here because it has a higher level of accuracy. We can see the algorithm selected for creating these pipelines, and then we can see any enhancements. We can also see the build time. So our first pipeline took 42 seconds, and our second pipeline took 10 seconds. So right now, AutoAI is applying some feature engineering to our data set. So for reference, under normal circumstances, this could take hours or weeks for data scientists to complete. But with AutoAI, we've trained our first pipelines in a matter of seconds. So the system's going to continue to run until the process is finished. And AutoAI will train 8 pipelines in a matter of minutes. So what I'm going to do here, there we go. I'm going to go to a finished project I have here so we can take a look at the different pipelines. So let me go here. I'm going to go down to my AutoAI experiment. So this experiment has already been completed. Perfect. Okay, so we can take a look here at the different views. So as you can see here, it went through the same process. It generated our pipeline leaderboard here, and pipeline 3 was our top ranked pipeline. The algorithm used was the gradient boosting classifier, and it has an 87.4% accuracy. We take a look at this view. So if you look here, we had our, this is our data set, right, that we uploaded, this patient data v6.csv. So 90% was training, split into 90% training data, and 10% was saved and left over for our holdout data. So we have our top algorithms here. So our first one is this gradient boosting classifier, and we can see our pipelines here. So we have pipeline 1, pipeline 2, pipeline 3, and pipeline 4. And then XGB classifier was our other top algorithm for pipelines 5 through 8. We can also take a look at any feature transformations. So this one is sum, this one's product. This one is a univariate feature selection. We also have square and sine. Another nice thing that we can look at here is this pipeline comparison. So if you really want to get in a little bit more to comparing your different pipelines that you've created, we have model name, accuracy, area under the ROC, we have log loss, F1, precision, average precision, and recall. And you can see how they measure up for each of our 8 different pipelines. And then again, our pipeline 3 was our most optimized pipeline. So we have our notated with a star here. What's nice is you can also take a look at your holdout data. So you can look at the pipeline comparison for your holdout data as well. And you can also look at the experiment data for your holdout data. So if we're looking at our holdout data, pipeline 1 was ranked first. If we look at our cross-validation, pipeline 3 was ranked first. So the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take a look, excuse me, at our top ranking pipeline. So we can really dig in here and check out a lot more about our top performing pipeline. So we have our model accuracy. We have our ROC curve here. So this is receiver operating characteristic curve. So it's going to plot the true positive rate on the vertical axis against the false positive rate on the horizontal axis. So this is a threshold for positive classification. So you can see our curve here. What's nice is you can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can also save this. If you need to save any of the images or data outside of Watson Studio, you're easily able to do that as well. You don't have to take screenshots. We have this table here of these model evaluation measures as well. So this again gives you some of the data that we looked at under the pipeline comparison. Accuracy, area under ROC curve, precision. So all of those model evaluation measures that we looked at for both we have our holdout score as well as our cross-validation score. Another nice thing that we have here is we have this automatically generated confusion matrix. So this just shows the numbers and proportions of correct and incorrect classifications for appropriate models. So we have our observed versus predicted, and then our percent. We also have our precision recall curve. Again, you can download any of these images that you need to save. We have some more model information here. So this is our evaluation, and this is our model viewer. So we can take a look at our, the target was heart failure. Our model type was gradient boosting classifier. We had 17 features. number of evaluation instances was 1,080, and when it was created. We also have our feature transformations here. So we have the new feature against the original feature and what transformation took place. So when we talked about the sum, we have our sum feature transformations here. This was on, again, this is on our pipeline 3 that we're looking at, but we can look at this for any of our pipelines. And then we can look at feature importance. So this is really nice. So one thing that it tells us is that family history is our most important feature. So it's our most important piece of data that has the highest impact on heart rate failure predictability. Next is BMI, then how many minutes you exercise per week, average heartbeats per minute, palpitations per day, and then cholesterol. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to save it as a model. So this is going to create a machine learning model asset that we can use to test new data, deploy to generate predictions, and trace lineage activity. So what this is doing is, let me give this a name. Failure model. So what this is going to do is this is going to save our pipeline, our leading pipeline, as our data model that we're going to use to make our API calls to in order to test our models. So we're going to be able to feed our data model new information. We're going to feed it new data, and then it's going to give us a response with a level of probability for predicting heart rate failure depending on the data that we feed it. So I'm going to create this data model. Perfect. Let's view it in our project. All right. And okay. So here we have our model type, software specification, and our training date. And then we have our input schema here. So this is the schema for the data that we gave it. So age, average heartbeats per minute, BMI, cholesterol, exercise minutes per week. And then it gives us our type. So we have integers. We have a few strings. So the next thing we can do here, is we can promote this to the deployment space. So now that we've created this model, we need to deploy it so that we can actually access it from outside of our Watson Studio space here. So I'm going to promote this to the deployment space. Okay. So this is our project. Oh no, you know what? New space. So you won't have a deployment space yet, so you're going to need to create one. My mistake. So you're going to need to create a new deployment space and then click create. I've already created a deployment space, so what I'm going to do, I have multiple models there, so you can have 10, 20 models in the same deployment space. This is my model that I just created, and I'm just going to promote it to our deployment space so we can deploy it. So let me promote this. Okay, perfect. So that's nice because it's like, here's the deployment space, but once it's gone, you might be wondering, well, where's this deployment space? Here's my models. So remember that view we looked at before? So if we go click on this hamburger menu, we can see our deployment spaces here. So I'm just going to click View All Spaces. And this is my deployment space that I created. So if you can see here, I have 2 online deployments already. So I'm going to click here. So this is the model that I just promoted to this deployment space. These are my current deployments. So let's go here, and I want to deploy this model that I just created. So if you see this little rocket arrow here, so I'm going to click this to deploy it. So I'm going to select online. This is going to be predict heart failure deployment. And click create. Okay. And this is in progress. Just 1 second. I just need to grab a cord real quick while this is deploying, and then we're going to take a look at it and set it up. All right, should be finishing up very soon. Okay, perfect. So now our predict heart failure model has been deployed. Okay, this is our deployment from our predict heart failure model. So let's click here and take a look at our deployment. Perfect. So within our deployment is where we can get our endpoint. It tells us what type of token we need. We need an IM token, which we're going to look at in just a minute. But if you look here, we have our API documentation. So we have these code snippets here. We have a Node application, so we're going to be using this one. But we have our code snippets here that give you exactly what you need to put into your code in order to make requests to your API and get the response that you need back. So as you can see here, we have our function get token. We are sending our API key back. We have our API post here, which again is going to be giving us a JSON response. It's going to send the bearer end a token. And then we're going to, we have our token response down here. We're going to parse our JSON. So this you can put in verbatim, and this is all the code that you'll need. You'll need obviously a few extra pieces of code dependent on your application of, you know, however you are on the front end want to display your data from your response, or what type of form you're collecting new data in to send back to your model. But as far as the API call, everything you need is in here. And then what's really nice as well is we can test it. So let's see, average heartbeats per minute. Let's just give a guesstimate, 80 palpitations per day. I don't know. Cholesterol, I'll say 200. BMI, 25. Age, let's put 25. Sex, we'll do male. Family history, let's see, is what? Smoked the last 5 years, no. And exercise minutes per week, let's say 60. Now what we can do is we can make a call, make an API call to our model directly from here and get a response. So let's predict. And as quick as that was, we have a prediction and probability. So we have a 60.2% prediction with a 39.75 probability rate that no probability of heart failure is a no. So you can test your data from here. So let's say you're more concerned with the model, you don't need to deploy an application and make API calls from here. What's really nice is you don't need an application in order to make and receive, make calls to your API and receive responses from the data. You can do that all within here. You can also get the JSON response. So if you are working on an application or you want to do something with it, here's your JSON request to make to your API. So what we're going to do now is we're going to deploy the app locally. So the first thing we need to do is create an IAM API key. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep this open and I'm going to go back to our first view here. So when we first created a Watson Studio, this tab stays open. So if you come here and you click Manage at the very top, you'll see Access IAM. So this is where we're going to click so that we can create an API key. So if you look along the right here, one of the things you'll see is API keys. So I'm going to create a new API key, and this is just a standard API key for your IBM Cloud account. So you don't need a specific Watson Studio API token or anything specific with AutoAI. This is just your IBM Cloud account API key. So I'm just going to call this heart failure prediction key. I'm going to create my key. Now I have my key. I can copy it. I can download it. So now let me show you where to put this. So, so I mentioned before, here's our project. I already had this open. So here's your project. So what you're going to want to do to deploy this locally is you're going to want to, there's an env.example folder. So what you're going to want to do is create an env file, and you're going to want to, this is not the right one. Sorry about that. Open this up. Oh, popped up on my other screen. Here we go. Okay. Wrong screen. All right. So what we have here is our env.example file. So what we're going to need is, like we said, our API key. So now we have our API key. And this is your env.example file. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to need to add, you're going to need to create a .env file, and you're going to need to copy and paste both of these and add your keys to it. So the second thing we need is our deployment URL. And I'm going to show you where to get that. Okay, so we have our API key. Now let's go back. Perfect. And you're only allowed, so you only have access to view your API key for about 5 minutes. So you want to make sure that you copy that and save that somewhere so you can have it. You can always create another API key if you need to later, so don't worry about that. What we're going to do is we're going to come back to our heart rate failure deployment. So let's come back to our deployment. This endpoint is what you're going to need right here. So you can copy your endpoint here. And then you can add your deployment URL here in your env file. So I've already added my keys here. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to, now that I've updated the my env file with my API key and my deployment URL, I'm going to move into my server folder. See here, I'm going to run npm install. I'm going to run npm start. So now our server is running on port 3000. So let's come over here. Let's refresh this. And here we have our application. Let me make it a little smaller for you. There we go. So we have IBM Watson Machine Learning Heart Risk Example. Okay, so here's some data that's already filled in here. Let's start with this. And as you can see here, and again, this code is included in that repository. So all you need to do is hook up your, update your API key, your IAM API key, and your deployment URL in your .env file to get this running locally. That's all you need. And as you can see, I just ran this from terminal. I didn't log in to anything or access anything special. I just added the keys to my local application and ran it and got it running. So let's try age 65. Female, family history, yes, smoker, no, exercise an hour a week, cholesterol, 220, BMI, 35, heartbeats per minute, 80. Okay, so let's just make sure this is working. I'm going to give it some new data. Perfect. So we have heart risk, no. Prediction is 58%. Probability is 41%. So it's quick 1, 2, 3 to get everything deployed locally. So now what I want to show you is how to deploy this to IBM Cloud. So what we're going to do now is the same thing. So we're going to come over. Where's my mouse? There it is. Come over and we're going to get our, there we go, our API key that we just created here that we saved somewhere safe so we can access. And what we're going to do is we're going to come into our manifest YAML file. So you're going to need to come out of your server folder. It's in the main project folder. So here's our manifest YAML. So you're going to put your API key here. And then again, in your deployment area, you're going to take your endpoint. You're going to add that here. So within your env in your YAML file, you'll just update your API key and your deployment URL. And then what we're going to do is from your, here we go. Okay. So from your terminal, let's shut this down. You're going to run IBM, let me move this up a little bit. You're going to run IBM Cloud login. So first you're going to log into your IBM Cloud account. And let me get my just a password here. All right. Okay, so I'm using a special kind of ID, so I need to do a one-time passcode, which if you need to do this for any reason, I'll just show you quickly. If you come here, if you click log into CLI and API, you can get a one-time passcode here. So let's just do this. Okay. Oops, sorry about that. I need to dash down. So you can log in with that one-time passcode or your API key. Yeah, I'm not gonna do this right now. So I already did. No. Perfect. So the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna run, it gives you some nice messages here. So I'm gonna run IBM Cloud target. And this again is a 1, 2, 3, very easy, quick to do. So you're going to run IBM Cloud target-g default. And again, this is all in the slides as well. So don't worry, you don't need to write anything down quickly or remember. So now my resource group is set to default. The next thing you're going to do is run IBM Cloud target-cf. And that's going to set your org and your Cloud Foundry API endpoint and your org and your space. Let me get this out of the way. So what we did, we updated the manifest.yaml file. We ran IBM Cloud login. We ran IBM Cloud target-g default. We ran IBM Cloud target-cf to set up our Cloud Foundry endpoint. And then the last thing you're going to run is IBM Cloud CF push. And what this is going to do is this is going to deploy your application to, let me just show you. Pull this up here. So once you've run IBM Cloud CF push, what you'll see is your application here. So this is a little tiny. Let me try to make it bigger. So you'll see your application here, the Cloud Foundry application. And when you click on your application, this is the application that you just deployed from your IBM Cloud CF push from your command line. So once you click on that, you'll be able to see, if you look at the runtime environment variables, you'll be able to see your API key and your deployment URL from here as well. So just to double check, make sure our application's working the way we want it to, I just took down our local host, our local deployment. So this is our deployed application. And again, I just want to test it. So let me just get my response here. take a second. There we go. So a 40-year-old male, non-smoker, body mass index 20, has a 92% prediction, 7% probability of not being at risk for heart failure. So let's do male, 30, family history, yes, smoker, yes, cholesterol, body mass index, 30. All right, let's check it out. So, and this is sending an API request back to our model that we created. So this is actually making a JSON request to our heart failure prediction model that we created, that leading pipeline that we saved and created a model of. This is making a request directly to that pipeline that we have here at this endpoint, and then it's sending us back a response. So a male, 30, has a family history of heart failure. They're a smoker, higher body mass index. So with a 43% prediction that they're at risk for heart failure with a 56% probability. So now we can see this is functioning the way that we want it to. It's receiving our responses, and we're able, our API requests, and we're able to get our response back. Perfect. So let me just come back. So if you've followed along, it may have taken a few more minutes to get your AutoAI experiment to finish. That's okay. And if you're following along during to this recording after the fact, so your app is now live because you've deployed it. You can also go to this link and play around with the live deployed application if you would like. Feel free. I'd just like to say congratulations. So you have learned the basics of what is machine learning, what is AI, how to use IBM Watson machine learning, specifically how to create a new project, how to create an AutoAI experiment, how to create a custom model, and then how to make API requests to that model in order to get predictions back to you in a locally and deployed to IBM Cloud applications. So congratulations to you. You're one step ahead to any of your career paths in tech, whether it's web dev or data science. You can use this for a lot of applications. So if there's any project that you're thinking of working on, whether it's data science or web dev, this is a very useful tool, and you can spin up and generate a lot of models very quickly, and again, at no cost to you. So feel free to make use of your account and play around with it as much as possible. We do have time for Q&A, so don't worry. One thing I would like to ask is if you would be so kind as to take our survey. It's only 2 questions. It's only 2 questions, so it's not like a long survey or anything like that. It's literally just 2 questions. We really appreciate your feedback. So if you would be so kind as to take just a second, and we are going to spend some time doing some Q&A. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or put them in the Q&A section at the bottom. There should be an area for questions and answers. Oh, you know what? Let me, computer's a little slow. Let me share this with you as well. Okay. There we go. Wait for it to catch up. Okay. Okay, so here is the survey. I've just posted it for you. So if you want to just click on the link to do that. Let's see. Yes, make sure that you're not within your server folder. Make sure that you're in the main project folder when you run the IBM Cloud commands. So when you're running the IBM Cloud CF push, you want to make sure that you're in the main directory of your project. Okay, let's see. Take your time. We have some time here to answer any questions. So while you're thinking of them and writing them down, let's see. And also take a second to play around with the deployed application. So go ahead, put some information in, see what responses you get back. What are the Yorkies' names? Okay, so the oldest, his name is Bolo. So he's actually named after the bad guy in an old Bruce Lee movie. So he's Bolo because Bolo, the character in the movie, is like this really, really big guy. And he was the biggest puppy when he was born. So Bolo's the oldest, and then YOLO is the youngest. And we named him YOLO, fun story. He, ever since he was little, we always said he had a death wish. So he's just always doing really dangerous stuff, especially for a dog that little, and we're not exactly sure why, other than he must have a death wish. So we named him YOLO. You know those turtle sandboxes, the old plastic ones from back in the day? When he was about 8 weeks old, he somehow scaled the top of the turtle shell with it closed. We have no idea how he got up there, but he got himself up there and then pooped on the very top and then jumped off. So from then on, we called him YOLO because he clearly has a death wish. Let's see. Yes, it's very YOLO-y. So we couldn't come up with a better name. We couldn't come up with a better name than that. We thought that was very fitting. I also wanted to share, just before anyone has to go, if you would like to stay in touch, ask me any questions of any kind, see some other content, please feel free to follow me on LinkedIn and on YouTube as well. I just posted those in the chat. While we have a few minutes. So if no one has any specific questions, what are people doing for the holidays? Oh, here's a question here. How do you get Python code for the model created? How do you get Python? Oh, are you referring, so Nikita, are you referring to the code snippets? How do you find the URL for the deployed app? So Nikita, if you can clarify, if you're referring to the code snippets. Yeah, so let me just go back here. And let's go back. So where our deployments here that we're looking at, so this is our endpoint here. So Michael, how do you find the URL for the deployed application? So if you click on the hamburger menu here and you click on deployments, you can view all spaces or go to your particular one. So I'm going to go to this deployment space. And then I'm going to click on my model. Oh, sorry. You know what? I wanted my deployment. Okay. So let's take a look at this deployment. So within your deployment space, you can click on individual deployments. So this is my deployment for this model, and this is the endpoint link right here. So this is the URL that we're looking for. And then Nikita, we have Python code snippets here. It looks like you're referring to the model. Yes, Steve. I was just going to say you can download the code as a notebook. Yeah, so you're able to download the actual model. Trying to think.
I think it's under your, if you click on the hamburger menu and then click on the project and go to your assets. Yep. It should be when you click on
yep.
AutoAI experiment, it should be there, I think.
Yeah, so this is our project. So if you click on assets and you go down to our model. Oh, you know what? Sorry, let me go to my other project. I didn't save this one as a model. Yeah, so sorry about that. Let me just go here. I didn't save that pipeline as a model because it was still finishing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our project. Under assets, we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom. This is our model here. So if we click here,
I think you want to click on the actual model or the AI experiment. It's one of the two.
let's see.
It might be the AI experiment.
Yeah, let's check. But the short answer, yes, we're going to figure this out. There, you can download. I know I wasn't sure what you were referring to, but now I understand. Yes, you can download the actual model and use it, you know, wherever you need to use it. So you're not just beholden to using it within here.
Yeah, click the 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 one on the left. Yeah, the predict heart failure. Yeah, the actual experiment. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that there's things have shifted around a little bit, but yes, you can download the model. That way you can do whatever you need to do with it wherever. Let's see. You can also save it as a,
yes,
go ahead.
Save it as a notebook. Yeah, that's how you want to do it.
Yeah, so you're going to want to create a notebook here. And you have two options. So you have Watson Machine Learning Notebook where you can work with, you can review and update the code, view visualizations, and deploy the model with Watson Machine Learning. You also have this AutoAI Lib Notebook. So you can view the scikit learn source code for the trained model in a notebook, and this does not require Watson Machine Learning. So you would create that here. So again, go to your leading pipeline that you want to save your model for, click Save As, and you would choose the Notebook Beta option here. Perfect. I hope that answered your question. Okay. We'll give people a few more minutes to ask some more questions. I know it can be a lot to take in for the first time if you haven't played around with Watson Studio or any of the machine learning services before. Let's see.
There's actually a new feature they just added as a beta to Watson Studio. Well, I guess now it's Cloud Pak for Data as a service, but they just added a new feature called it's basically an ETL type job where you can load data, transform it, and save it again. It's a really cool really cool tool.
Cool.
And yeah, they can be opened in Jupyter. They are Jupyter notebooks.
Yes, these are Jupyter notebooks, so you can open them in Jupyter as well. What's everybody doing for Christmas? Any special plans? I feel like I need to make my house a winter wonderland, so I'm not feeling so cooped up.
I think everyone's just going to be quarantining.
Yeah, but you got to make it fun. Like, for instance, I just got in the mail some socks with popcorn on them and like a little microwave movie popcorn maker. So you can like make your own popcorn, like kettle corn and cheese corn and stuff like that. You got to use your imagination. Maybe but you know what I've wanted to do, which I haven't done yet, is build a really big fort in the living room.
That would be fun.
Just a change of scenery. Ooh, barbecue food truck, Texas style holiday party. That sounds good. Socially distanced holiday party for work. That sounds nice. Try to create, so it looks like Ryland's going to try to create a model for his chances of success at world domination. Good luck, sir. Good luck. Let's see. But yeah, I have some backlogged projects, some e-commerce projects I want to finish, and some e-learning and training and stuff that I have in my bag to work on over Christmas break and everything. Get some things done.
I think I've got a laundry list of things I want to look into.
Yeah, yeah.
And actual laundry.
Yeah, and actual laundry. Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for coming. If any of you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or to Steve. You can also post questions on here, but I would recommend reaching out to us individually. If you come up with any roadblocks or you have any questions that that come up later as you're playing around with Watson Studio and creating your first project. But I'd like to thank you all so much for coming, and I hope you all have a really wonderful, safe and socially distanced holiday. And I look forward to seeing you all next time. If you are interested in learning more about Project Debater, so we talked a little bit about that, IBM's Project Debater. I'm going to post the link for tomorrow. So tomorrow is part 3 of the series. It's going to be back here on Crowdcast. Let me just get the link for you. We're going to be learning more about IBM Project Debater and Jupyter Notebooks. So we're going to be exploring Jupyter Notebooks tomorrow for part 3 of our series. Let me just get this link for you. So I'd welcome you all to come back. We're going to have the team that worked on the code patterns and some of the content for the IBM Debater content, Project Debater. We're going to be watching some clips. It'll be a fun time. Here we go. So here is the link. So IBM Project later. If you'd like, I hope to see all of you tomorrow. And if I don't see you tomorrow, feel free to take a look at the playback. I'll be sending all the links out following the series tomorrow so that you can go back and watch. And I hope you all have a safe and healthy holiday. And I look forward to seeing you all again in the new year. All right. Thanks, Steve. Happy holidays.